up, y'all? Thank you for viewing the In Between series, the show where young folks honor the space between their dreams and reality. Today's In Between is The World and Me. To my left, I have Courtney, Brenton, Tiana, and to my right, I have Frankie and CJ. So let me just go ahead and ask y'all, how are y'all doing navigating being black in this oppressive society?
All right, here we go.
We coming in with the jugger. I am not playing today. How y'all doing? Because I'm tired. I'm weary. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
you
how I'm
pretty
feeling.
much hit the nail.
Oh,
Okay. Okay.
I'm trying to figure out how I can articulate my thoughts without being, disrespectful.
To whom? To who do you owe your respect?
So I feel like as young people, we already have something against us. But being young African American people, we're just requested to act a certain way and do things in a certain way that our colleagues don't have to do.
We get into respectability already.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so it's tough. And heavy is head that wears the crown. You get what I'm saying? But does it make it fair? No. But at the same time, I was about to say, well, you just better. You got to do stuff better.
Exactly.
Like, you know?
But we've been hearing that our whole lives. You have to be twice as good. Like, I've experienced that myself. For example, just being in a predominantly white space at work and being that black girl. And for a while, I used to code switch. But honestly, I'm at the point now where...
You said what? You used to what?
I used to code switch.
What is that?
Code switch is when your normal behaviors become adapted or conform to appease your surroundings.
Okay.
I used to do that in my professional
You your voice like hello.
y'all know the movie Sorry to Bother You that just came out? It's like that.
So
and it's the idea that who you are isn't professional. So you have to adapt to in order to maintain this standards of professionalism. And I don't agree. So what are y'all saying? Do you think that is the norm? I know it's the normal, but do you think that that's okay? How we are told to conform and adapt.
It's definitely not okay. Having to alter ourselves under any other circumstances is not necessarily okay to fit anybody else's idea of what should be. But I do work in a white space. I can be very honest, and I know that I'm an entire, I'm not going to say it's an entire different being because it's an aspect of who I am, but it's not all of who I am. And I make sure that low key, I just keep that other side a little on hush. Mm-hmm. And,
what is the other side? What is that? Because it's interesting.
My blackness. I'm going to be very frank.
There we
all
go.
of which
Okay.
that I describe to be my blackness is just a little quiet. Because I don't know, I grew up with a lot of white best friends, in white spaces. I definitely know how to socially, construct myself in those areas, and it becomes that. But that's not necessarily right. But I can say, I'm going to just jump the gun real quick. I accidentally said something about niggas in front of my coworkers.
I didn't drop a few niggas. And then drop them.
And I've never heard any of them use the word nigga before, at least not around me. But in a matter of less than 2 minutes, one of the little girls said something about nigga at the end. And I said,
what was their color?
She was white, blonde hair, classic white person. But I
So
was
that gave the okay, to me, and that's weird. To me, that's I guess when we talk about our workspaces and how we, may feel pressure to code switch or whatever. When we do embrace our blackness, whatever that is for you, how does that make you feel when you open that door up? Because then our white counterparts are like, okay, cool, bet this is okay.
This is what it is.
How do you address that?
I felt free in them motherfucker. When I first started working, I promise y'all I had straight hair. I was I haven't worn straight hair in years, for 3 years before this. I was let me get a wig. That was my first thought. It's you need to adapt to this standard and because as a black person and especially a black woman in the workforce, they're already expecting you to be less than. And then I just felt if I was to come as I am, they would be able to they would point any failure or mistake for being a black woman, you know what I mean? So I felt the need to kind of change my outer surface identity, so that when something happened, they wouldn't be so quick to relate it to my blackness. So I feel like in a way, I'm not only protecting myself, but protecting the ideas of what they have black people were. So
That's
when
important.
That's a
Yeah.
lot. I feel when I am around white people that I am in representation of all black people, which is like a lot. And I don't really.
And you are.
That's
essentially you
Hey,
are.
you are. Even it's just like I can't even get with the word like when they're saying ratchet or ghetto.
Ghetto.
what does that mean?
Exactly.
What are you
Yeah.
relating it to?
Exactly.
Let's get to the bottom of this word that you're using before you continue
Yeah.
to use it. Because I don't know. I just feel away.
I just do. And
I feel away.
what were we about to say, CJ?
I would say one thing that gets tricky is like, you know, you want to, I guess, maintain a level of professionalism. It's like I could be professional being black as shit, or I could be professional, you know, put on a voice. But my thing is like, it gets to, where it gets tricky for us is we have to like tiptoe a line so we're not like a caricature.
Yeah.
You know, because if we're like representing, you know, I have an afro, I'm like, you know, I'm supposed to be this and the third, and I'm just like, okay, no, I'm just here to do my job, you know. But it's like if you're too black, you might get patronized for it, or you know, like you said, then there's a pass to say certain things or do certain things, or it's like, oh, well, let's do this or do that, and it's like, no, this is it's still a level of respect.
Yeah.
So I think when you are navigating those spaces, you just have to like, you know, hold yourself high and like make sure you're demanding that respect as a human, like first, and just cultural like. And the thing is, a lot of people don't realize that white people are still kind of scared about doing certain things, and if you give them a certain amount of comfort, like they can ask you certain
Comfort
questions. And
for white people.
right. I mean,
They're not comfortable.
But it's like if they
sometimes.
deem you as trustworthy or whatever, then of course
I feel you.
they may ask you certain questions about things, and you just have to be honest based off of your
Ask
perspective.
those
questions.
questions,
I feel
right.
like when they're trustworthy around me, they just say whatever they say the wrong
Y'all,
But that's how you know better.
y'all,
You
when
know
Black
better.
Panther came out,
Oh my God.
lie to you not, I'm in the kitchen at work.
thing. Lord, I'm
Shorty
tired
walks up
already.
to
You start
me.
like, who, to you?
No,
Because I
she
would've
literally
been
came up
all
to
the
me
way.
and said, "What does this mean?" My thing is,
Wakanda forever.
sis, if you watched that same film that I watched and you didn't understand what that meant, then it wasn't for you to understand.
At this
And the fact that you're approaching me, asking the one black girl in this entire fucking vicinity what something meant, you knew it was something that was significant to a certain culture. So like, if you don't get it, it's not for you. So why did you feel comfortable? It's like she did it on the hush, and I'm just like, yo, I'm not your black girl. Like,
That's
I know
interesting,
you try to like, I know what you're doing, but I'm not that for you. I'm not the one that you can ask, oh, what did you do to your hair? If your hair don't curl like this, if it don't float in the air like this, don't ask me. Like, it's not for you. So that's just how I feel.
What? So that brings me to ask. That puts me into a space and kind of like a mindset of like, what do we identify as black culture, and then what do we identify as like you just being who you are? Because for me, a long time, I got the whole, when people heard me on the phone or they saw how I texted them, they saw my name, my government is like a really white name, they thought I was a white person because of the way that I talk, because of the way that I articulated myself, because of the way that I typed, documentation. But when they saw me, they were like, oh, I thought you were white. So it's just like, how do you deal with that? Because I never felt like the way that I talked was white, like identifying a speech pattern with a color and a race. It was always a weird concept for me because that's just how I grew up. And when I got into the professional world and people started to like, oh, you don't talk black or you don't do this, like it became like, well, what is talking black? What is this? So like when it comes to like code switching in the workplace on that aspect, I never really related to that because to me, I just talked how I talked and it was okay. And when people said, oh, I have to change the way I talk, I was like, well, to me, you just talk it. Like it's weird. And that was just like, where do we draw the line between this is my black culture, like for black people, and this is just how people are.
Yeah, I will say that I do think black people have like a language, like every culture has their particular Ebonics, but it doesn't exclude the culture or the language that you were literally forced to grow into in order to be like in the society that you're in. So I really think regardless, it's the standard for black people to want to, or it's acceptable regardless to speak quote unquote white or proper because niggas, that's what we learn. But I still hold on to that part of like in them. You know what I said? Like, you know, like when I say it's certain words that when white people use, like I think you said earlier, like ghetto, whatever. It's like that's not your word. Don't use it. Like, so I don't know. I have like I always get like it's frustrating to be called like the white person. It's not acceptable whatsoever. But I think that there are certain like languages that
I
use.
think being an American, like here in the USA, like though we do have our own speech, I think it's unfortunate and honestly a little ridiculous that we can't speak in that manner and it not be described as. I don't even know how to make that make sense.
And even if you choose to be like a black person, that doesn't make you any less educated. Sometimes I intentionally speak like I'm a nigga because I want you to know that I am this educated, this smart, this professional, and I am still me. Like I would like intentionally insert a "oh yeah girl" or like just some dumb stuff sometimes, not because I'm trying to be fake, it's because it's my natural me, and I want you to know like I'm not hiding it. That's where I am in my workplace at this point. But I know it's like really difficult to do that, and like you know, young folks still gotta get paid, and sometimes you just gotta go with it. So I was gonna ask you all, like, what are some of your forms of resistance, like, to not necessarily conform to like the conditions that?
So for me, I've always been me, no matter what. And I think when I graduated from VCU, you know, a lot of my classmates were white, but you know, there was like the black kids who were like, well, black kid too. But like VCU was fortunate enough for me. I never felt out of place. I was in the arts program, you know, it was all about the arts. My teachers, you know, never seemed like they cared. Like nothing was I never encountered anything that was racially happening in my own program, which I appreciated. Going out into the professional world, when I went to go get my first job out of school, I had an interview, and it was just like at a predominantly white school, you know, and I was just like, you know, how am I gonna wear my hair? I have hair, you know. But to me, I was like, in my mind, I always wanted to be that cool music teacher with the hair that was like eccentric and whatever. So that was my goal. I wanted to be standoutish like that. Yeah. So I went to the interview and I was like, my resume speaks for itself. Okay. I have the skills. You know, I had the youthfulness that you're looking for. So I'm gonna be me. So I don't even remember how I went to the interview. It was somewhere that was unique to me. And I was like, whether you like me, you don't. If this job is for me, to me, I was like, God, I'm gonna go in and do me the best I can and not worry about what they're looking at because my resume should speak to myself. And I got the job. And I changed my hair all the time. I had braids, I had cornrows, I had an afro, I had it straightened for a time of whatever. I did so many things, and not once did anybody ever treat me any different or whatever because I was confident in who I was. And they actually respected the fact, and they were fascinated by the fact that, you know, I could change my hair so much. One time they even didn't know who I was because they were like, oh, I didn't recognize you in the hall when you had changed your hair. And I was like, well, my face is the same.
I know, we had the same
thing. But to me, it was just being me.
Being you. And what's y'all's like form of resistance in this white ass America?
Probably my hair.
Your hair?
Because I've been in a lot of like corporate white spaces, especially when I went to school in Louisiana. I was working with the athletics program, and the director of my program told me that I had faux locks, and he told me I had to take them out because it wasn't professional. I said my hair has nothing to do with my work ethic or anything. I said I'm coming in here, I'm the first one in, I'm the last one out. shut your mouth.
And
I did not take my
okay, that's not
you can kiss my black ass.
But I think for me, my form of resistance is being just confident, like he said, in who I am. And the fact that we versatile as hell. Like we're good at everything. So that white voice, I'm good at it. Yeah. I'm good at it. Like I will come in and talk to you with my black ass, to your white ass. You get what I'm saying? And you will love me by the end of that conversation. You get what I'm saying?
Oh yes.
So for me, it's more so not of it's not about like resistance, but more so changing the narrative for us. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Because it's like I'm gonna make you change your mind about black people and people in general. You get what I'm saying? I'm gonna make you feel so stupid that your ideology is all fucked up at the end. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. But is that our job though? Like,
that's a good question.
Thing is, like,
that's a good
I'm
question.
gonna be me. Like, I mean, in answer to the question, like, I'm just gonna be me. I'm gonna keep trying, and I'm gonna do my damn best every single day I go out. That's my resistance. Like, like you said, changing the narrative. But it's just like, if you are a piece of shit person who doesn't see people for who they are, and you judge people by the color of their skin, not the ethics of the character, classic MLK stuff. I can't.
Yeah.
What am
I don't
gonna
think
do?
it's our job, but I don't think our job is to force somebody to change how they view us. I think our job is to be the best us that we can be every day of our lives. And when we continue to do that, then the narrative will be forced to change because we're being consistent. And I think that people get too deep into, well, I'm gonna make them do this and I'm whatever. No, just be you and do you the way you do you.
Yeah.
And if you don't conform to how people are trying to make you do you, then doing you will be enough.
Yeah. What were you about to say, Court?
I relate. I think as we're being our best selves around the spaces that which we're in, I think we do have a day-to-day impact on those people that are around us. But I can say that there are a wide range of black people. And I can't say that all black people are in the same spaces that which we are in. And thus they're not necessarily moving in the same ways that which we're moving. But somebody still, it could be themselves, but regardless, somebody still has to speak up for them. Like, granted, you respect me, but like, it's outside of me. It's human beings as a whole. It's all black people. You don't get to choose, like, because you think I represent black people well or whatever. It's very
Like
interesting.
you're good blacks and bad blacks.
Sorry. That brings me to a point though, like, have y'all ever been in a space where somebody was like, oh, they were like maybe initially like nervous around you because they didn't know how you were going to act, and they were just like, oh God, they're not like the rest of those other niggas. I really have
Like,
people
say
tell
what?
me you're not like the rest of them. I said, why not? Oh, because you went to college. I know mad niggas that went to college. Oh, because you speak a certain way. I can talk like this, I can talk like that. Oh, you don't dress like them. That's because you see me dressed up at work.
Yeah,
I
right.
be half naked when I'm at the club. Like, stop. Or you don't do this, you don't do that. I do. Like you were saying, being versatile. Black people are so versatile. I'm just like, I don't like when people are like,
You're a white
you
black person.
are
that's what
like
they
a
call it.
white black person, or I'm
Yeah.
comfortable around
Yeah.
you. It's them that I'm worried about. I don't like
Because
that.
they, in their minds, they can't wrap around the idea that, like Courtney said, black people are multifaceted and that black people are great people. So if you don't match the idea of what they think black people are, there has to be something different about you.
Right.
Like, their mind just can't process, like,
Yeah.
we're just like that. But I'm going to bring it into, we have a submission. It's called In Between Nuck and Buck.
Ah, shit.
It's not a hard choice So it starts off, help. What advice would you all give to a young black woman that has taken on a leadership role in a space that opens a door for conservatives, extreme right Republicans to be disrespectful on any given day? How would you suggest I handle those situations where my patience has run as thin as it can go? It is so hard being the bigger person. I personally feel like sometimes the bigger person is staying true to who you are. I at this point in who I am, my blackness is a crucial part of my identity. I don't believe I can be in a space that neutralizes what black people, like the goals of black people, by also helping Republicans. I'm not saying there's no black Republicans, that's not what I'm saying, so don't get that confused. But she's saying like extreme right Republicans, and I'm just like, we can't help us and them at the same time. So I personally couldn't be in that space.
That's what I was wondering. Do you have to have that job?
I know, like
You have to work there. Are you being forced to work there? Because
Yeah.
if not, then leave. Like, you're gonna be miserable every day.
I feel like
Or
in
be
that-
there and be the change.
Yes, yeah. Like,
I think it's the mission of the job. I don't think you can recreate
Check 'em, boo.
the organization. I mean,
Unless you're trying to be there so that you can be like,
recreate.
listen here.
Like, hey, I don't think we should be helping them re-elect Trump. Like, can you go into somebody's like whole organization and say, hey, we gotta control this? No. So that's what I'm saying. I couldn't be in this space.
Yeah.
But the
it's
her.
like, well, she's in a leadership position, yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like she just has to be a good leader. You
That's
know,
true,
like
too.
she has to maintain those same qualities of a good leader, and if her moral compass is leading her a different way, she needs to find a way to navigate them in a different way. And those extreme right, I mean, not extreme right, extreme right.
You said what you said.
Yeah. But it's like it takes more than just like, lot of that's so deeply conditioned. It's like it's hard for your tenure to be the thing that's going to change their mind. Like a lot of these people are going to die before they ever change, and even then they probably won't. So it's like how do you as a good leader like navigate that to a space so at the very least you're representing. So when there are other ideas and other progressive things that are coming in, like I'm not sure if there are progressive Republicans, but you know maybe you can open the door for that.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. It's touchy.
One of the things that, so y'all saw that Beyonce did the cover of Vogue for September, right?
Yes, of course.
Right, of course, right. And so in her interview, she was saying, so, and you know, they the photographer was black. He was the first black person to ever do a cover for Vogue magazine, right?
It's
And
2018.
Exactly. So she was saying in her interview, she said that, you know, it's bigger than me. It's actually about me opening up opportunity for other people. So her being in that leadership position is going to open up opportunity for other young black women to come in and kind of do their thing. Sometimes you gotta do what you have to do in order to do what you want to do. You know, like you know, it's benefited her. Really.
True.
She's
But with using that as like I just kind of like a focal point. Well, Beyonce and Vogue, you know, black people have been on Vogue. Black photographers have not, you know, shot Vogue, which is dope. She's in that position with the submission entry. She's with the, you know, extreme, you know, all things that seems to be things that she may or may not agree with or whatever. So to me, it's a little different because it's like she's in an environment that clearly she's being conflicted with things on a day-by-day basis. So that's why I'm just like, do you have to be there, or is your mission for being there to make a change? Because if that's your goal, then do that to the best of your ability. You know, use your leadership position to figure out like, okay, this is how this goes down. This is where I can like slide something in here. I can change something here to kind of make it work. But if you don't have to be there, or you feel like it's conflicting with your morals and how you know want yourself to be and how you want to grow as a leader, don't sacrifice and compromise your ideals because of a job, because it's a leadership position, because that could do more harm than hurt in the long run.
So where is the knock in the butt part? Like, how can we help her like fuel her flame? And because she obviously wants to like make a change, or at least she obviously doesn't want to just go along with it. And I'm not saying the resistance has to be actually physical, but I think there needs to be some disruption here.
Yeah, speak up. I think whenever she feels like she said I'm disrespected or I'm whatever, whenever that happens, speak up about it. In that moment, don't tolerate it, because then if you tolerate it, they think it's okay.
Exactly.
So be like, I don't know what you thought this was, but this is what it really is.
And I don't know, she can even keep it respectful while still not respecting their beliefs. But like, you know, get into that elsewhere. You know, in this space, we're going to keep it respectful to all. In some ways, like you said, she shouldn't tolerate what she's not, you know, here for. Set boundaries. Like, ultimately, you are in the leadership role. You have that right to do that.
And I think wording is also everything. Word choice and like delivery. Because if it's something about killing them with kindness, or like doing it in a way that they don't expect. Like, I can shut you down. I ain't got to cuss you out. I ain't got to fuss you out. But you gonna know that what you do is not acceptable today or any day. And I think that doing that changes the dynamic. Like, oh, this isn't a rowdy black girl or whatever. She has class. She knows how to like articulate a sentence, and she shut it down. So now you're forced to pay attention because I changed your dynamic of what you thought I was going to do.
Do you all think that the art in like film and music that we have helps and motivates us as black people to kind of navigate within the society?
Hell yeah. Have y'all seen the book bags that are going around for the black children with the black?
I saw it.
They love it. Like, they love it. Seeing that representation is amazing. I think that does a lot for us.
I feel like seeing us in art and across all sorts of mediums, it makes me feel human. It makes me feel like I'm here, I'm breathing, I'm in this bitch. I'm taking up this cake, I'm important. You know what I mean? Because I'm so with social media, because I feel like, I don't know if it's some sort of algorithm, but I just keep seeing somebody was shot, somebody was stabbed, somebody was beat up. I just want to see that type of stuff. So seeing like positive images, even if it would be something like this, something that may start out small but could expand and like take over the world, it's just like you see people that look like you in a positive space, whether it be in paintings or in books or in movies, and you're like, I can relate. Like, a big part of me being able to talk about how I'm feeling about whatever is me having that sense of like familiarity.
Yeah.
and I feel like more open to it. So if I were like Google like depression, you probably see a white girl or a white man like this.
Yes.
Well, maybe that's not supposed to, maybe that's not supposed to align with me because I don't see anybody that looks like me going through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like seeing us in art, especially because I think art is so powerful. Because even like if you're looking at a painting, there's no words and there's no construction to it. It's not like you look at this painting, you have to think this, you have to feel this about it. It's up to your interpretation. That just makes me feel good.
Yeah. Were you about to say something, CJ?
No, I was telling him to chill.
Oh, I actually looked it up. It was
It was a white person.
I mean, I would say like it's cool seeing like us like in different spaces, especially in art and film. Like like Tiana said, like look right now we have black film crew, black cast, black that started from the Spike Lees, the Ice Cubes, all that like Ryan Coogler, all that. It's dope to see other people like us doing stuff. And like it makes me feel human. It makes me feel like other things are possible, and especially with the wide spectrum of people there are, especially in our community. Like seeing someone like a Jay-Z get to where he is, and I'm just like, okay, well, I wasn't a kingpin, but I know that growing up how I did. Okay, I have a chance too to make my own lane. And then seeing people like like a Childish Gambino come up, I was like, okay, I can relate to this a little more, or I can relate to a Tyler a little more, and seeing how everyone is separately doing their own thing, and we're all like collectively just building up our like.
I think recognizing the power that we have too. I think we all too often we fall into the like, I'm oppressed, I'm suppressed, and I think that we don't really always realize that we're much more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. And I think that we diminish our power because of the fear of something or because of just how we're conditioned to grow up. But it's like, if we were to all step into our power, there's, and I know it sounds cliche, but there's nothing that we can't do. And we've seen that with like strong black figures taking a stand. And it may have been like one person, but those actions have, changed the world, or at least affected and brought attention to things to the entire world. And I think that within the arts and the media, I want to see more of us do that without being afraid of like, oh, is this going to affect my money? Is this going to affect my endorsements? Because, it may do that, but you don't know that the impact of your small little action could have to get you even more and to change the narrative for black culture entirely. So like, let's stop being so scared to enact change because of what we're going to lose and start to look and see what we'll gain from doing it.
And I feel like that's conditioned too. It's like that, like it's like a poverty mindset. Like, some people thinking, oh, well, like the house nigga syndrome. Like, oh, well, I got this. I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to be on your side because I won't be able to sleep in the bed tonight. And it's just like,
Bro,
no,
you can take over the whole house.
Exactly.
If you stand up, nigga, we all stand up. It's our house now.
Like, the thing is, like, that's like so deep conditioned to certain degrees. It's like you have to have a certain amount of empathy for it, but it's like it's weird. It's really weird. It's really touchy and nuanced. But it's like you have to know what your full purpose is, and I think that like knowing your history is really important too. Like, and going off what you said about like us being oppressed, is like we literally like. We're still here after slavery. That was a lot of fuck shit. We survived that fuck shit. You know what I mean? And it's like now, I mean, and the thing is, I think now people are like, we're all aware, we're woke, we're all this, but it's like, and I think the missing ingredient, I think the missing ingredient for honestly, I'm not worried about black people. I think our only, like, the missing ingredient for us to be where we need to be is time. We just need time. We just need to keep doing what we're doing. Like, and I think people are like, oh, we want it now, we want it now. And I get that. And we're going to get it. But it's going to take time for us to really see what happens. Like, 3 generations down the line, completely different. It's going to be completely different.
Shit don't change overnight.
Nope.
It doesn't.
Well.
Oh, we wrapping up time?
Did you have a last
no,
thought?
I just wanted to kind of like bring it to a thing of like, this is not to say that I got issues with white people, because to me it's not about.
I said it. So.
It's right. And I mean, I personally, I don't want anybody to have that issue for me. I don't have issues with white people because not all white people are bad people. But I think I have issues with white people who take advantage of their white power, their white supremacy, their entitlement, and they use their whiteness to belittle blackness and to, overcast and shit. Like, because I have a lot of white friends who you don't understand the struggle of being black, but you at least respect that you don't understand it, and you don't try to speak about it. You don't try to like live my life. you let me live me in my blackness, and you live in your whiteness, but you always have respect for me what I go through, and that's what I'm saying. Like I can respect those white people who don't try to be like, I understand your pain. No, you don't.
No.
You don't. But I respect the fact that you respect that you don't understand it, and you helping me to get to make other people feel that way too, and that's.
Yeah. Well, the way I see it is, if you have a problem with me saying I have a problem with white people, then you are the white person that I have a problem with. Like, I used to explain, well, I'm really talking about your white supremacy and your white privilege. And if I have to explain and peel every layer of what your whiteness is associated with that bothers and disrupts my peace, I have a problem with you, but I don't have problems with everybody.
Right.
I understand. Everybody feel, I get that. I was just trying to say, like, sometimes we put it on, like, just like we hate when people generalize us, all black people. I feel like we shouldn't do. I feel like we're also exacerbating that problem if we're like, well, all white people are like.
I can respect that.
Yeah, like I just don't want that to be.
It's very logical. No, that's very logical for me, and I think what I just said is a part of my defiance.
Yeah,
I get it. It makes complete sense.
However,
General statements goes against every logical piece of data that says you should not generalize. But I am purposely and intentionally generalizing when I say all white people.
Yeah.
That was good.
I don't always necessarily even experience the abuse of their power or their entitlement or whatever as such, but I also do not like their denial of our differences.
Yeah.
And I don't respect that either.
Right.
At all. Like,
that's respect.
because there's a whole lot of generational just differences that they just won't. They could. I mean, even not understand to like the depths, but they could learn.
Yeah.
But you have
It's
people
time to
that
learn.
genuinely try to deny a lot of facts that we speak to them
It
that
never
are
happened.
very real.
Yeah.
Like,
It did.
yeah, it
Like,
genuinely
it did.
happened. It's a thing. Like, I'm not pulling shit out of my ass. I
Yeah.
don't know, but
Yeah.
I don't like when they try to deny.
I just feel like it's blatant disrespect because I'm showing you the receipts. I have
Yeah.
True.
the receipts.
And you were still having
They all are
conversations.
not here.
Yes. Yes.
I'm not making this
And
up.
it's so much easier for me to be like, you know what? You're right. I do got a problem with you. Like it just got easier because I like the
Sometimes
big
it's
draining.
end and stuff.
It's draining trying to
I don't want to
explain.
say, well, you are the one that's my brother because I know somebody that you know that y'all are close with. Somebody is racist among that. So until you start actively and vocally like speaking out against that,
Yeah.
And I feel like too, with
that's
talking
it.
to some white people, like I could talk to a white person, like my friend Liz. If I were to say, "Oh, girl,
Hey, Liz.
the whites," hey Liz, girl, I'd be like, "Girl, the whites was getting on my nerves today."
Yeah.
She would know that I'm not necessarily talking about her. I feel like, because somebody said this, somebody
Yeah.
said that, but she understands that she's using her privilege to help me and to help us.
Yeah.
So she's not the issue. And my mom always told me, if things don't apply to you, they won't resonate with you.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying? So-
And I feel like that's a
Yeah.
great way
Yeah.
to end the conversation.
True.
If they don't apply to you, then they won't resonate with you. So,
But also, I mean, let it resonate when it needs to.
okay, I like that. If it resonates with you, then check yourself. Point blank. Period. Period. What's the girl saying? Period. All right, y'all. So that's kind of like the end of this conversation. We should do a part 2 for this.
Yeah, it's so much we can say that we can't condense it all.
Yeah, so I want to thank everyone, all the viewers for watching, and we will see you next time.
Alright, see y'all. Hey.
Oh my gosh, we are done.
Never stop for Becky call.
Oh, level up. Wait, do it with me. Oh, let's wait. Let's wait.
4,